Have you ever designed a quilt for a challenge? Have you ever made a quilt to commemorate an historical event? Today I'm going to share the story of the quilt I made to celebrate my state's Centennial celebration. I'm Andy, this is True Blue Quilts, a place to enjoy, experiment, and excel as we quilt. Please like and share this video with all your quilting friends. Here it is, my Arizona flag Centennial project. I designed this quilt to commemorate Arizona's 100-year anniversary. Arizona became a state on February 14th, 1912. So as the year 2012 approached, I thought about the challenge of making a postage stamp quilt with 2012 pieces. It actually worked out pretty well because I could do a 40 by 50 square layout for the actual flag design and then add 12 black pieces in the border to bring the quilt up to that specific number. So I graphed this all out on graph paper, and yes, I could have made the star a little more perfectly symmetrical with and star-like with half square triangles. You can see I just did the angled corners there, but I wanted to keep everything with 1-inch squares to make this design work out the way I wanted to. So I sent the call out on the internet for fabrics because it was taking me way too long to collect all those pieces of fabrics. And then I was so anxious to get started that I repeated a lot of fabrics. You can see multiples when you get up close to the quilt. So it's not a true postage stamp quilt. The pure definition of a postage stamp quilt is each individual square is a different piece of fabric. So that just makes my scrappy, loving heart sing to see all those different fabrics. But I also like to sew, and I wanted to get started on this project. So I slowly collected the fabrics and I worked from inside out. I built the star and filled that into about a square, and then I started piecing the different sections. I kept my graph paper plan next to me. I lined up all the fabrics on the design wall, and then I sewed them in 4-patch and 9-patch groups as I went along. Let me share some of the quilting designs that I used because I had a lot of fun putting this quilt on the long arm and adding some detail. I used a variety of different designs in the different rays of the sun and the star. And then in the background of this blue area, I stitched some words, and they're very subtle, but when you get up close, you can see that I wrote Arizona 1912 to 2012. And then I included the 5 C's of Arizona that any Arizona school student will know. We have our climate, our cotton, our citrus, our cattle, and our copper. are the 5 C's that contribute to Arizona's economy. And I stitched those words in the blue background using blue thread, so they're pretty hard to see. The final detail that I added to my quilt was in the border. I researched all the Arizona governors and I stitched their names around the borders of the quilt. So we started of George Hunt there from 1912, all the governors all the way around to Jan Brewer in 2012. Delighted with how this quilt came out. It was a wonderful project to keep my love of my home state going, and I am just thrilled every time someone sees it and says how much they enjoy it as well. So I would encourage you to find an opportunity to commemorate a significant event, whether it is in your state or your nation's history, or just a significant event for your family, such as a wedding or the birth of a child. Let's look for ways to enjoy, experiment, and excel as we quilt. Thanks for watching. You can see more of my free motion quilting designs in the video selection shown below. Also subscribe so that you never miss an episode of weekly quilting inspiration from True Blue Quilts.